Live from training camp rolls on here in Lake Forest, the home of the Chicago Bears. Joined by my guys, Bryant, McFadden, and Mike Renner. Gentlemen, we're going to continue to talk about this offense. I know. Second hour, we're going to get to the defense. I promise, Mac. We can go deep on this defense. But offensively, I want to take one straight from the group chat. The second Rome Odunze was drafted, Keenan Allen was added. We were going at it a little bit. This is the what ranked wide receiver trio in this league right now before you've even seen the continuity between them?
Wow. I'll say they're 2 or 3.
Okay.
I think number 1 would go to the Houston Texans. Adding Stephon Diggs to what they already have in place with Nico Collins and Tate Dell is deserving. But when you look at Rome Odunze as an addition, Keenan Allen being new to this team as well, but a well-polished, established career, and DJ Moore is a high-level player as well, I think they're 2 or 3 when you look at those 3 guys, and not seeing all 3 on the field yet in meaningful football, just the potential, they're nowhere close to being outside the top 3 in my opinion.
Top 5 at worst. That's amazing to say for Bears fans compared to what Justin Fields had over the course of his career. This is night and day. And Rome Odunze, which you saw on tape at Washington, was one of the most NFL-ready wide receivers to come out in recent years. So, we talked about the full route tree that he ran. These guys are interchangeable. They are big dudes on the outside. If you have a smaller corner, you got a 5'9", 180 guy out there trying to go toe-to-toe, you can't play man coverage. These guys are too physical at the catch point to do so. And so it's a unique receiving core as well as a very talented one.
It's all about how you want to frame it, the number of players you want to include. Top 2, you're looking at Miami. Top 3, you're looking here and a couple other places. You include the tight ends. Maybe you're focused here as well. But there's also a battery of backs behind Caleb Williams that's going to make his life easier and really strike some balance within this offense. Mike, what did the addition of DeAndre Swift do for you before you even knew the other pieces that were going to be breaking that huddle alongside Caleb?
It gave them the pass catcher, right? I think last year they lacked that at the position, and now it kind of gives you the ability to play roles with these guys. Roschon Johnson can be that power back. Khalil Herbert can be your speedy home run hitter, and DeAndre Swift can be your space screen guy. So there's just a lot of talent to whatever Shane Waldron wants to dream up. He has a guy that can go out there and execute that at the running back position. So just options. That's crazy, the sheer amount of options this offense has, what Caleb Williams is walking into. That's why I emphasize he just needs to play within structure because these guys will be open.
I agree with you, Mike. I think this group of backs, they're more talented than what the Chicago Bears had last year. But they still finished number 2 in the NFL in rushing, averaging roughly around 140 yards per ball game. Now, what will this backfield look like when it comes to running the football, not having a legit +1 in the running game that Justin Fields provided for them a year ago that led to a lot of production, hint being number 2 in the National Football League behind the Baltimore Ravens? That's my concern, because when you talk about having a +1 in the running game, as a defender, we can never account for that guy. When you talk about Caleb Williams, he's an athletic guy, he's a mobile guy, but he's not the runner that Justin Fields was for this organization. So being able to still have the same production they've had over the last few years, not having a +1, will come on the legs of DeAndre Swift, Johnson, and Khalil Herbert.
Well, the thing is, they could have that +1. Williams does still have the threat, and so they could still run option stuff, and that'll obviously make Caleb Williams' life easier. But how many hits do you want to subject him to? I think that's what Shane Waldron is going to be debating all preseason: is how much do we want to get him involved in the run game, because he's so dynamic, he's capable of doing it, but then also subjecting him to more hits may make his life a little bit harder there as well.
Yeah, it's both a blessing and a curse here for Shane Waldron, because there is big-time expectation on this offense because of all the weapons that it possesses. And the play calling in this city prior to Waldron at times has been spotty at best. So fans are surely looking for some of that offensive momentum to build and keep that quarterback protected in the pocket. With that in mind, it's only going to work if the offensive line up front can do what they need to do. I know there are some transition guys, up there that can fill in spots when that attrition does set in, as it always does on every single one of these groupings. The depth of this offensive line, is it any concern as we head into this season, Mac? Do you think there's enough up front to get done what they need to do to get the balls to these guys that we know can make big plays?
That's the concern for me. I think when it comes to depth, they're still trying to figure it out. And that's the case with most offensive line units. You know, depth is always a concern because those guys are at a premium in regards to what they do. And we saw a year ago depth was an issue for their line when they were hit with some injuries. When you talk about Wright, when you talk about Jenkins, those are two bookends. I love their athleticism. I love their ability to be super productive. But behind them, what happens? You know what I mean? So that's my concern. It was my concern last year, and those concerns became a reality for them. And let's see exactly what they figure out throughout this process, throughout preseason, as they get ready for the start of the season.
And that was really what led to the flyer on the Hinsdale kid from Yale that likely can move around and provide some of that. What did you see in the pre-draft analysis?
Yeah, he was a project. So if he's having to step in at left tackle,
yeah,
that's not necessarily a good thing. But I think Caleb Williams can make this offensive line's life a lot easier than what Justin Fields did. His MO was holding on to the football, making you pass protect for 3, 4, 5 seconds. Caleb Williams isn't going to do that. And when he does, I think teams are going to have to rush him maybe even more differently than what they did with Justin Fields because he's so dangerous with those plays outside the pocket. So you're not going to get a lot of upfield rushes from defensive ends, and that should give him pockets to step up into. So I expect this offensive line to really play well this year.
38-38. Does that mean anything to you?
No.
That is the passing record for the Chicago Bears. Eric Kramer, some time ago, not Jay Cutler, still possesses that record. Total sum of the parts, do you see a 4,000-yard passer here in Caleb Williams this season?
Yeah. In today's NFL world, where passing is it's a passing league, and just knowing the amount of games, having 17 games, I think we see 4,000 yards from a Chicago Bears quarterback,
Careful
something
now.
that we've never seen before in the history. How long has the Bears been in existence? It's been, what, 1920?
100 plus.
100 plus years and never a 4,000-yard quarterback. I'm not going back to the 20s.
I just needed an answer.
The 30s.
You said
I'm
yes.
just saying, like, you can go back to 2000. like we have never. These guys never had a 4,000-yard quarterback.
Well,
or 3,900-yard quarterback.
Or
it's going to be an exciting season, Mac.
Yeah, but to answer your question, 4,000 yards booking.
You're the one talking about sticky Lombardis. We got plenty more to talk about here on CBS Sports Network, live from Bears camp. That'll do it for hour number 1, but we got more players, more analysis coming in hour number 2. Hour number 2 from Bears camp on the way. Joe Musso, Bryant, McFadden, Mike Renner. As we will transition now to the defensive side of the ball. I know you've been waiting, Mac, and I'm coming right to you here. You were out there. We've seen plenty of tape, and we saw over the last 8 weeks of the season what this group can be, some additions to them as well. Where do you identify the strength? Who sets the tone in this defense? Which level?
Well, they have 3 alpha dogs on each level. First level, Montez Sweat. You know, Coach Eberflus talked about the Sweat effect when they acquired him a year ago and how the defense dramatically changed for the better with him in the lineup. Then you talk about the second level. You know, you have Edmonds, who they signed big money to over a year ago from the Buffalo Bills, one of the best covering linebackers in the game, not to mention his athleticism, and he's a tackling machine. And the third level, you got Jalen Johnson, who just got paid handsomely, deserving so, when you talk about being one of the best cover corners in the National Football League. So when you have an alpha dog on every level of your defense, good things tend to happen. We saw that, right? When you look at the last 8 ball games, we saw how this team defensively became one of the more consistent groups in the National Football League. Now, as a fan, you would love to see that be a part of this team starting this season in 2024, because the offense they've received all the attention. But for this team to get to where they want to go, it starts and it stops with the defense.
Yeah, and the second half of last year, everyone goes back to that and how well they played. Not only did it come with Montez Sweat being there, but it came with a lot of guys who were rookies starting at DT, whether it's Gervon Dexter, Zach Pickens at corner, Tyreek Stevenson, and then second-year guys in that secondary as well, which are Quan Brisker, Kyler Gordon. Like, there is an upward trajectory to this roster on that side of the football that's very, very easy to buy into. So what does the next step for those guys look like? Because if it is big, you could see one of the best defenses in the NFL.
You certainly could, and I think Coach Eberflus sitting in that chair next to you, I don't want to say showed the hand, but at least let us know strategically what they're thinking from a personnel standpoint. Still looking for that edge opposite Montez Sweat, Mac. You asked a great question, and it elicited a telling answer. It seems like this is a team with their eyes still on the open market. Matthew Judon, Hassan Reddick, 2 names that immediately come to mind. You add a piece like that to the already existing group, I mean, we are certainly cooking with gas at that point.
The name of the game in the NFL defensively is get guys that can put pressure on the quarterback. When you have those type of guys, you're going to be successful. When you look at some of the outstanding teams from a year ago, playoff caliber teams, San Francisco, they got edge rushers. Right? Baltimore, edge rushers. They sacked the quarterback. You look at Kansas City, led by Chris Jones. They put pressure on the quarterback. And they have that alpha with Montez Sweat. But to your point, Coach Eberflus said we're still looking for searching for that second guy. Now, did he mean in the building or externally?
Externally.
You know what I mean? Mike, and that's what we will continue to watch, throughout preseason, because if it's internally, kudos. But if it's externally, it's a big name.
I was going to say right now, it ain't intern. We saw that they have a journeyman, DeMarcus Walker, across from him. They have a rookie fifth-rounder in Austin Booker, who I love, but he's still a rookie fifth-rounder. Teams can chip a one Montez Sweat. Teams can't chip both a Montez Sweat and a Hassan Reddick. Teams can't chip a Montez Sweat and a Matthew Judon. If they add that second piece, that is what is missing from this defense, because when they pretty much went as Montez Sweat went. If he could apply pressure to opposing quarterbacks, that defense was on point. But if they had 4 or 5 seconds to give quarterbacks, they had all day and they could pick them apart.
Well, Mike, you're a GM right now. You're Ryan Post. Who would you prefer outside of the building, Judon or Reddick?
In terms of pure fit for that defense, I'm going Hassan Reddick. Okay. Now, obviously, he comes with his own baggage after getting traded for this offseason and wanting a pretty big contract. So from a contract demands perspective, Judon might be cheaper, but you need that pure upfield speed rusher because Montez Sweat can push the pocket. You get that guy who, when the quarterback steps back, he's right there waiting for him. That would be a dynamic duo on the edge.
They certainly have the capital, both in terms of cap and what it might take to get that player here in draft compensation. We will see if we do get any news in the coming days. We will have Jalen Johnson here in just a few moments joining us on set on CBS Sports Network, and he is the alpha in that back end. There are some other complementary pieces there, but disrespect in that top 100 list. Left off of it, but PFF ranking him as the top cover corner in the league. How do you reconcile those two things, and where does he situate in your mind? I'm not going to ask you for your full 100 here, but he seems like he would be a double-digit guy.
He's a top 5 corner in the NFL. No bones about it. What we saw on tape last year was pure shutdown, island type of corner stuff. And what I'm excited about is not only do they have that guy, which makes everyone's life easier. You can move safeties to your other corners. You can kind of scheme your defense in a way that lets him go to work and do what he does and give other guys help. But these other guys may not need help. What I saw from Kyler Gordon last year was a big leap from what I saw from him the year before when he was healthy, a true playmaker in the slot that can impact both run and pass. What I saw from Tyreek Stevenson as a man-cover corner, they have the unique ability, the secondary now, to go toe-to-toe in man coverage on those impactful third downs and win more often than they lose. And then, oh, by the way, Terrell Smith, the second-year cornerback that was a late rounder last year, he made 2 pass breakups in the 7-on-7 today against the ones. He looks like he could be a player himself. So, embarrassment of riches in that Bears secondary right now.
Young riches. That's the thing. They're hitting on draft picks and they're developing them. When you do that, great things will happen for your team, offensively and defensively, and you don't have to go out and spend a lot of money to try to improve. They're improving within. So kudos to Ryan and his staff in drafting the right-minded guys, and kudos to Coach Eberflus and his staff for developing these guys, because that's what you're talking about. These are mostly homegrown players that you hit on, that you talked about, and they've done a great job in improving week in and week out to be able to be the unit that we're talking about right now. So I think this is a team under the radar. They will be a very, very talented team. They don't have a lot of household names because some of their key contributors are young. But when you look at what they do on tape, even today, how many times did we see guys breaking up passes, right? And especially in the red zone area, because they were working in the red zone, the windows were very, very small for Caleb to try to complete to his wide receiver. So these guys are playing with a lot of confidence, and they're super consistent.
For far too long, this franchise has been the punchline, the butt end of the joke, but this roster has changed, and maybe that narrative changes as well in the years to come. You know what they think about the Bears? We're going to find out what Vegas thinks about the Bears next on Live from Training Camp.